gone and left me sighing, after you gone, left me crying. You feel sad, you feel bad, you've never met the best spouse that ever had. There'll come a time, no more forgetting, babe. There'll come a time, no more regretting. Oh, baby, look what you're doing. Seems to me, drive my heart to ruin. After you've gone away.
I have received 2 packages, ladies and gentlemen. This one came in from Sky Carl, our good subscriber, Sky Carl. A couple days later, this one came in from our good subscriber, Atco. Now, I knew Atco was sending me a package. The one from Carl was kind of a surprise. It was like, watch your mail, John, there's something on the way. And I said, what could it be? You know, I told him, I said, it better not cost a lot of money, because I don't want you spending a bunch of money on me. And he said, don't worry, it didn't break the bank. I said, okay, fine. From Atco, I knew what it was. He had found a bunch of 8-track tapes recently at a tremendous buy. He gets some pretty good yard sale buys. I'll tell you what, he scoops up some really neat stuff. Down here, I'd never find anything remotely close to that. Anyway, I asked him, he had one that was the Eagles' greatest hits. Eagles' greatest hits. And I said, would you happen to have an extra one in there anywhere? If you do, I'd like to buy it. And he said, I'll tell you what, I'll look around. I'm pretty sure I have an extra one. I'll send it to you. It may need to be refurbished, you know. New sensing foil, new pad. I said, well, no problem. I can handle that. Well, he sent it to me. And he said it's coming through the mail. The Eagles' greatest hit must be an awfully big tape. I hope it'll fit in my tape player. Well, he threw in a bunch of extra ones that he let me know later on. So now I'm going to reimburse him some money. And Carl, he just wouldn't take any money, I guess. That's just the way it is with him. And but old brother Atco, we're going to go ahead and at least reimburse him the cost of shipping. I don't think he should be out any money for that. Well, let's go ahead and look in here and see what we've got. Let me see, we got Kenny Rogers, Marty Robbins, Lynn Anderson, Barbara Streisand, Jim Reeves, Tanya Tucker, Ray Price, Tony Bennett. No, good Tony Bennett tape's always good. Bette Midler, don't know much about Bette Midler. I know she sings. I've never owned a tape of hers. I'll experiment with that one. The best of Eddie Arnold, can't beat Eddie. Big band era, Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney. They're going to be singing some Christmas stuff. I've got all the necessary gear to repair these tapes, by the way. Here's a couple. Here we go. The greatest hits: the Eagles 71-75 and Hotel California tape. Then we got Porter Wagner and Dolly Parton. Boy, that goes back. I bet that's a young, old tape when they were young. Merry Christmas with Andy Williams. Close to You, the Carpenters. You know, every time I think about the story of the girl and it just irritates me how she died. Anyway. Who we got here? Peter Nero. Don't know much about him. Kenny Rogers, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, Charlie Rich, Crystal Gayle, and Tammy Wynette. Good mix of tapes. Very good mix of tapes. All right, he sent me a letter in the box. And he said, don't send any money. I don't want any money. You're right. You're going to get some. Sorry. Anyway, he said he's looking for... He bought this radio at a ham fest about a month ago. It's a Zenith. And he's missing a logo right there that goes on there. Does anybody have that logo? If they do, get a hold of Atco. Atco will be more than happy to get it. I don't have one. Matter of fact, I don't even have a Zenith radio except a transoceanic. I'll be looking around for one for him. We'd like to kind of make this radio complete. Let's see what we can do to help the feller out, okay? Brother Atco, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You're a fine feller, a scholar, and a gentleman. And I will be spending the next week or so tearing these things apart, putting new pressure pads and foil tapes in them. There's one right here, the big band era. See, this one has a dangling tape right here. See it? What happened was it came loose from the sensing foil. There's nothing wrong. It's not broken. It just came loose from the sensing foil. I have all new sensing foils. Not a problem. All kinds of stuff to repair them. Matter of fact, I'm getting pretty good at it. I've repaired a couple of hundred, I guess, already. Or maybe not that many. About 150. Anyway, thank you, my friend. And of course, we all know what that means. Shout out to Atco. Well, I got so excited about these Eagle tapes, I just went ahead and took both of them apart, changed the pressure pads in both of them. And right now it looks like the sensing foils are good. If not, I'll open them back up. But actually, I don't need to open them back up if I can catch it at the time that it switches from one track to another. However, this is what we have now in both tapes. The Eagles, ladies and gentlemen, this is their Hotel California tape, 8-track. Yeah, man, they were good. I'll tell you, there's only a few bands that I really like. The Eagles is one of them, and then of course we had ABBA and the Bee Gees. Of course, the Bee Gees. They were great. They were really great. I'll tell you what, don't let anybody ever tell you that 8-track tapes are not good. They are very good if you take care of them.
In the master's chambers, they gathered for the feast. They stab it with their stealing eyes, but they just can't kill the beast. Last thing I remember.
Yeah, baby, it's good. I've got a little update on this Hammerlin HQ200 that I got from a junk collector. I went ahead and took those 2 silver capacitors that had all the resistors stacked on top. I just chunked that. I didn't want it. And I installed 2 terminal strips, one here and one there. Hooked up a couple of new electrolytic capacitors to this one, and then ran the 5-watt 500 ohm resistor away from these 2 resistors. I wanted that heat over here. And then pressed it against the, connected it to another terminal strip, and I now have it pressed against the metal chassis, which will help dissipate heat a lot. So let's go ahead and turn this baby on and see what happens. The next little item, like I said, came from Sky Carl, our good subscriber, Sky Carl. So let's find out what it is. It kind of surprised me. Let me open it up here. Look at here. He has recognized me as a master chef. Thank you, Carl. I am a master chef. Yeah, right. He sent me a chopper scooper. These things come in real handy. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I like this. This is cool. I have one, but it's not the one I wanted. The one I wanted was one like this. And all of a sudden, he must have read my mind. Real wood put in with real staples in a non-stick deal. You cannot beat that. You can chop your stuff with it. You can scoop it together, flip it around. I'll be using this mostly, probably, for taking bread dough and flipping it over. You know, getting underneath it and flipping it over, spinning the dough around, flipping it over to make my loaves of bread. That's cool. It says non-stick chops, cuts, scrapes, and scoops, hand washed, recommended. I'll take that, baby, Carl. You're a fine feller, scholar and a gentleman. Thank you. And we all know what that means. Shout out to Sky Carl. Today for supper we got ourselves a pickin' chicken. I like a pickin' chicken. We got 2 pickin' chickens actually, don't we, Grandma?
Oh, what's left?
Ethan likes a pickin' chicken. And we have our oldest grandson, James, home from the Air Force on leave from North Dakota. Nice and warm down here this time of year, ain't it? Yeah. Yeah, pretty soon, if he's lucky, he'll make staff sergeant, won't you?
Yep.
I hope so. He's been laying and just sitting in his room day after day, enjoying his time off. Been a long time since he's had some time off. He just came back from a 6-month TDY, huh?
Yep.
Yep. A tale from the jail. Those of you who follow my vids, you know that at one time I worked in a jail for several years. I was the booking officer and I enjoyed it. It was a great job. It taught me a side of life I didn't know existed, you know. I mean, you see it on TV, but you really don't know firsthand what the other side of life is until you actually experience it on a daily basis, you know. Let me give you a story about a fella who He was a young guy. I guess he was about 19 or 20 years old. He came from our town, from another town about 45 miles away. It was early in the morning, about 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock. He shows up in our town at Conway. He goes to the local bank, one of the local banks. It was a rainy, miserable day. And he goes into the bank. He pulls out this big gun. I think it was a .357 Magnum, if I'm not mistaken. And he sticks it in the face of this poor lady who was the teller. Well, you know, can you imagine what went through that poor woman's mind? She was probably a wife, a mother, you know, maybe a grandmother, I don't know. Anyway, the whole idea was a bank robbery. She gave him the money, and this kid, this idiot, he runs out of the bank. By now it's pouring rain. I mean, it's just coming down, you know, just raining frogs. It was so bad. He gets out into the car, he jumps into the car, and the car does not start. You know, these guys are great planners, you know. So he tried to get it to start, he couldn't start. Well, by now you can bet the cops have been called, right? So he jumps out of the car and he just takes off with his bag of money in one hand, gun in the other. And he's running down. He runs up along this cliff area that was behind the bank. He slips and he falls and he's caked with mud from one end to the other. He's just covered with it. And he makes it about, oh, I'd say a half a mile. And he winds up at this store that had an outdoor payphone, and he gets on the payphone. He's trying to make a phone call. Apparently he didn't have the right change or something, so he goes inside all covered with mud and everything with this money bag in his hand. I don't know what he did with a gun, and he tries to get change for $1 or something. Anyway, he gets the money, he goes back outside, and the store owner calls the cops. There's something going on funny here, you know. This guy's covered with mud, shaking and scared and freaky and everything, carrying a bag of money. Well, of course, the police, you know, within seconds, you know, they zoom in on this guy and they bring him into the jail. Well, I didn't know any of this was going on because, you know, I'm just working every day. We didn't have the radio on or anything like that, and I'm just doing my stuff. They bring this kid in. He's just a filthy mess. And they said, hold him for the FBI. It was robbing a bank is a federal offense, and the FBI was going to come pick him up. It was either the FBI or the U.S. Marshals. I think it was the FBI, though. I said, okay. I said, well, can I clean him up? I mean, he looks dirty. Yeah, you can clean him up, you know. So we put him in the shower, gave him a, you know, orange jail uniform, stuck him out in the holding cell, and he's just kind of, you know, head hanging the whole time, not saying a whole lot. And I put him in the holding cell, and he's just going to sit there. I'm not going to give him any food, you know. I'm just going to let him sit there until the FBI shows up to pick him up. They said they'd be there in about an hour. So I guess about a half an hour went by. Now the kid, by this time, the guy's, I guess it's beginning to sink in where he's at. He's locked up in a jail, and he starts crying. He starts crying, you know. Yeah, right. Well, what about the poor lady who stuck the gun in her face, you fool? But anyway, he's crying and he's bumming. He starts tapping on the window of the holding cell. And I walked over and I said, what? And he said, can you open the door? I got a question. You know, I said, all right. So I took these big keys, you know. I stuck it there, I opened the door up and I said, what? And he's crying like crazy. He looks at me and he says, just as serious as a heart attack, he says, are they going to put me in prison for this? Not bad, huh?
I can feel your glow.
Sounds great.
I can feel your love.
It also tunes all through the band. As far as the AM band, I haven't checked the shortwave out. I'll do that later. Anyway, this thing takes a 3.2 ohm speaker. It does not have a built-in speaker. I've got to find a matching speaker for it. And I'll tell you what, those caps and that resistor and those tubes I put in just made it a whole new radio. I like it. Holy crow. Let's see if we can find something else.
Index drop 15.
Really sensitive.
Down 3.
Terry Branstad is that
Jesus. That Jesus.
these guys are going to manipulate.
Maybe
I'll tell you what, not bad at all, not bad. I got to change the light bulb, do a lot of cleaning, and I think that's probably going to be just about it. Folks, one of our special subscribers is a fella named Tim. His YouTube handle is AM Station Engineer. And Tim has been one of our subscribers, several years now. Been with us quite a while. And many of you have had correspondence with him, either, individually, one-on-one, or, you've commented on perhaps a comment he's made, or he's commented on perhaps a comment you've made. And he jumps in and comments on my stuff all the time. For a while there, he disappeared. He wasn't feeling very well. And I checked on him through old radio, Al, and I said, whatever happened to Tim? I haven't heard from him. What's going on? Apparently, he stayed in closer touch with Al during that time. And Al told me he wasn't doing so well. He wasn't feeling so good. And I'll tell you why. Tim has a debilitating disease. And unless they find a cure for it, Tim knows there's only one solution. And it's not good, what's going to happen. But he stands up every day and he faces it eyeball to eyeball. And apparently he got some medication which enabled him to come out of the period, that was real bad for him. And he's now back with us, and I'm glad to hear it. Well, the other day, Tim, by the way, Tim is an extremely smart individual. My God, he knows so many things. I'm talking really does. There's people that say they know it, then there's people that do know it. Every subject, anything you can talk about, he knows about. I asked him one time, how did you gather all this information? He wrote me back a 15-chapter book telling me all about it. He kind of reminds me of Brendan in many ways. Anyway, the other day on Mish-Mash 77, I received this comment from him. I'm going to read it to everybody because it may be addressed to me, but it's actually addressed to all of us. He said, John, the two most important things which I've learned in life, and I've learned this lesson far too late, is that what matters is that you make every effort to spend as much time as possible with your family and cherish that time because it comes only once. The second most important thing that time has taught me is to enjoy the living hell out of everything that you do, that your family does, and that your friends do, because that's what memories are made of. And as someone who is terminally ill, I've found that my fondest memories are of some of the most mundane occurrences. It's all about the memories, period. These Mish-Mash videos serve to demonstrate for all what life is really about. And for this, I congratulate you, because you are rich beyond the boundaries of mere physical wealth. Those 3 paragraphs say a whole lot. And again, it may have been addressed to me, but it was aimed at everyone out there. And for that, I think we all should say thanks, Tim. Great, great advice.